Okay, let's go ahead and get the ball rolling. So today we're going to be talking about customers, sub-customers, and projects. Sub-customers, right? Yeah, I got that sub in there. Sub-customers, sub-customers, and projects, which are all customer list items in QuickBooks Online and what they can be utilized for. So this week we're going to talk about the differences between the three of them. And then in future courses, we're going to be talking about the why more of the effects. So like if we set up customer deposits, what is the best practice? Which one of these should we be using? If we set up retainage, which one of these should we be using? But this is just giving us a nice, good baseline. As always, a reminder of who Fourlane is, right? So we're focused on getting data to make decisions in the business. That's what we want our customers to be able to do. So when you hear me talk about some of the structure inside of QuickBooks, we're not here to necessarily say, here is how to write a check. We want to be talking about why to write a check, what could checks do, how can we manipulate checks to get to the things that we need. And so always focused on getting to the data, right? So QuickBooks has a pretty set database. It's not like other databases that we also represent, so like Acumatica or NetSuite, where you can add your own custom tables, you can add your own custom objects in the database. QuickBooks is set. It doesn't allow for those kinds of things, but we can use what exists to get to the result that we're wanting. Okay? That's what we do well here at Fourlane. Always focused on the report we need first, and then we structure the data so that we can get to that report and also do our taxes. Right? So both are the goal. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about today, like I said before, customers, sub-customers, projects, and then we're going to look at some reports. I'm going to go ahead and dive in product here. I would like it if you have any topics that you are just really passionate about hearing, please definitely ping it into the questions chat today. That way I can make sure to add it to future timelines. And we'll go over what we're going to be, what courses or like what classes we're going to be doing next. There's been a lot of requests around sales process and replicating some of the things that we can do in QuickBooks Desktop and how would we make those work in QuickBooks Online. And so that's kind of what I've been starting with here. All right, so as you can see, so we're going to talk about customers. So I have customers and leads over here. This is something that's pretty new. They have the customer tab and they have the marketing tab. So Intuit bought MailChimp a little while ago, so you're going to start to see more and more MailChimp integration opportunities, which is great. When you go into like a NetSuite, one of the things that NetSuite did, or what they sold themselves on, is that when you buy accounting software, you get CRM. You don't have to use a separate app. You don't have to go to Salesforce. You don't have to, go to Zoho or any of the other CRMs that are out there. It comes integrated. And so now Intuit can say the same. We have a integrated marketing opportunities, right? Okay, so customer list in here. So when I am doing or creating a new customer, okay, we're going to talk about customer first. I can come into my customer list and I can say new customer. The customer type is, or customer setup pops out on the side. There are very few required fields, right? So you can see the required fields are the ones with the little star. It also is pretty odd to me that when I say new customer, it doesn't actually start at the top, right? It starts down at company name. So there are these fields up top here that you would have to click into in order to get to, or if you hold down the shift key and push tab, it will click backwards. But it's kind of a weird starting place. If your customers are people, right? So let's say you're a property management company or you're a HVAC company that works with individuals, then that could be potentially a little bit of a problem, right? So in this case, I'm just going to set up a fake customer. One of the things too that is a lot of fun, let's see if I can get it to show up again. Okay, so you can see I do have the opportunity to connect through Intuit Business Network turned on. And you can see here, there's actually some business network ones called like Good Fake, Fake Corp, Fake Nerd. This is the way for Intuit for you, if you wanted to submit an invoice to somebody, right, they would get a bill in their system if you have connected to them through the business network. This is something that we talked about on our is QuickBooks Desktop going away webinars, as well as our What's New in QuickBooks Online webinars. But it's pretty cool there. I just think it's so funny when I type in fake that there are actual company names out there with fake in there. So fake customer. Okay, so the display name comes up. This is what it's going to look like, right? This is what the company name would show up on, like if you're integrating with 1099s and stuff like that. You can continue to tab through, fill in email, phone number, mobile fax, website. Down below here, you can choose if you were to have to pay this customer, what would you want the name on the check to be? And then we have our is a sub-customer checkbox. So the checkbox exists this time, which is wonderful because that's what I was looking for last week, right? When I was doing that chart of accounts webinar. So maybe one day they'll switch it to being similar to how they modify the chart of accounts where it won't say is sub-customer. If you're familiar with QuickBooks Desktop, in QuickBooks Desktop, they call that a job, right? They say it's a new job. In QuickBooks Online, they call it a new customer. I mean, a sub-customer, I'm sorry. Down below here, we have the address, which is really cool. So I can put in, 123 Main Street, Austin, Texas, 78737, let's just say. Now, you do have the ability to preview address, which is neat as well. Where this comes in handy for people is, as an example, if my sales rep is coming in and setting up a new customer, I don't know who this is, by the way, so I just made up something. I can't believe something actually came up. But if my sales rep is putting in a new customer who we're trying to get a hold of, and I click into preview address and I see that it's an address that doesn't exist, or that maybe they say that they are a company, but it's taking me to an apartment complex, right? It might be a red flag of maybe this is not the right information for this customer. So I like that preview address for sure. Down below, we have notes and attachments, what their payment methods are, right? So, and the reason I'm going through this is, again, because I want you to see the difference between customer, sub-customer, and project. So payment opportunities, I can come in here and put in like, how do they like to pay us? They like to pay us via credit card. I can enter the credit card details through here, or you can say cash. Set up their default terms in the system, net 30. Notice that in terms in QuickBooks Online, right, you can't have like 2%, 10, net 30, not an option. Use company default for print or send later, and then what language do we want their invoice to go out to them in? So pretty neat stuff. We have additional information down below. So we have customer type. If you are not using customer type, it is definitely a field I suggest that we start using. This is a great way to segment your profit and loss, to segment your revenue, to see where is our revenue coming from. Is this tax exempt? What's their rate? We do have the opening balance field, which we should never use. And then I have custom fields. This is really what I was trying to get down to the most. So I have set up 6 custom fields for things that I want to track data by inside of QuickBooks Online. Okay, so at the customer level, I can set up who's their project manager, what territory are they a part of, what is their revenue, if I wanted to run reports based on revenue. For our clients who have some DCAA compliance, right, we track the revenues of some of our vendors so that we can report against, like, our subcontractors that we use, what buckets do they fall in. Sales rep, so we don't have a field on here for sales rep. So we see people set that up as a custom field. We also see sometimes people set that up as a tag. I have on here month, right? So for some of our clients, we want to say, you know, show me how much revenue came in from people who found us in March versus how much revenue came in from people who found us in April. And the reason that that could matter is because, you know, I spent $10,000 with Google Ads in March. I spent $0 with in April. I want to see what revenues came in with Google Ads turned on or off type thing. And then source, right, Google, look at that. Oh. And I can continue to add additional custom fields. Okay. But setting up a customer, pretty straightforward. As always, I clicked through this so I could get through it faster, but I prefer to tab. Tab is best for what I try to get people to do because then that way they don't miss a field. Okay. It also helps if you do have the customer on the phone and you are using QuickBooks Online as your CRM, you can say, okay, let me just go through and get you set up as a customer. Can I have your email address? Can I have your phone number, right? And they can kind of tell on the other end that you are going through a list of the things that you need. Up top here, this is just little boxes to take you down, right? So they take you around, drag you around since it is a long list of things. In other areas, there was tabs, right? That kind of, like you can see here, customers or marketing, you'll see different tabs like this. This is all one long screen, but they use this little floating bar to help you to navigate down faster. Okay. So setting up a customer. Pretty straightforward. Now, when I look over here on my list, I have fake customer. Okay. Fake customer exists on my list. So client, I can go in, I can create an invoice, create multiple invoices, create estimates. Now they're set up as a customer in here. I can add notes still. I do have projects tab set up here, but I don't have any projects tied to this customer yet, right? Because I just created them. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and set up a, I go back to my customer list, or I could hit new here also, or go back to my customer list and say new. So now I'm going to fake job, right? So this is my job or my sub customer under fake customer, right? So I'm just going to set up this fake job. We've already gone through all the fields, but I do want you to note that you can have different bill to addresses. You can have different payment methods here. You can have, let me make sure that I show it to you as a sub under fake customer, right? You can have still all of those additional fields showing at the sub customer level. Okay, so I can put in a different project manager at this level, a different territory at this level if we needed to. Okay, I don't know why they'd have different revenue there, but maybe fake customer, we actually don't really care about that, right? We care about the individual locations under fake customer. They can have a different sales rep. Maybe this customer we got introduced to in May, right? And this was a referral at this point because we originally found them through Google, or they originally found us through Google. Now, once I have that sub customer set up, you can see the structure inside of inside the customer list here. So it looks like it's indented a little. So I know that fake job is a part of fake customer because of that slight indentation and where it falls on the list. Fourlane and Gov1 here, right? Those two do not have any indentation. So those are just straight customers. And they are also the furthest to the left that anything could go. So they are just customers, and they do not have sub-customers. Okay. Now let me get back to my customer list here and show you. So just like I set up fake customer, fake job here previously, so you guys didn't have to sit through this, I had set up Costco, right, furthest to the left as a company. I gave Costco two sub-customers, store 441 and store 1231, right? So you can see that they're both there as separate. And then I also wanted to point out how far deep you can go. Now, if you are going this far deep on your customer list, we're probably missing opportunities somewhere else, right? Like usually when I see clients have a setup where they have gone even 3 levels deep, from customer to sub-customer to sub-customer again, usually that's because they're trying to track some kind of data on the customer list. Like they will say Costco, Western Territory, then they will say store 441, store 1234, right? Whereas I showed you when we were setting up this job that you can get to that same level of detail. You can just put it somewhere else. We can create a custom field for that. We can put in customer type, right? So you can get to that level of detail that you're needing by doing something else. But having 2 levels is pretty standard. Okay, pretty standard. And the reason that we suggest having 2 levels, if we can get there, is because it allows us to have a roll-up. So in my world, that I would be recommending, if a client came to me and said, I do business with Costco, I would say, okay, and they said, Costco's my top customer. Okay, perfect. I would say, okay, but Costco is massive. So you're probably not just dealing with one department over there, one person, one purchaser, one whatever. So let's segment out so that we can track to see who is doing the most volume with us, right? So maybe the Costco.com versus the physical locations. That might be something that I build in here. They also might have different billing. In property management, as an example, one of the things that we'll do is, let's say you have a rental property. We sent up the customer, the top line is the property, and usually it's the address, 123 Main Street. And then underneath the property is each tenant that we've had, right? Because if I have just the property, and I have, Joey and Sally lived there in 2022, but then Mark lived there in 2023, and I have it all just rolling into one customer, I won't be able to see how much money I made from Sally versus Mark. Okay. So using sub-customers in that situation is great. The same thing we'll see in even like HVAC companies, because they have a contract with a home, right? They have a, they're working on a water heater. They installed the water heater at a home and then they service it. And then the home gets sold. So the customer technically changes, but we want to know everything rolling up to that home, even if the customers changed or the, who lived there changed. So we'll use sub-customers in that way. Okay. I'd love if you guys have, I know I don't always get the audience involved, but if you guys have some examples and want to put into questions of how you use sub-customers or how you think they should be used, that would be great. I'd love to give a couple more examples here while I continue. Stories are always fun, right? If we can get people to understand the value of creating some structure inside of their QuickBooks to get to those better end results, that's our goal. All right, so we talked about customers and jobs in here. Now the other one that what I wanted to show just real quick is when we set up a job here, right? When I set up the job and I click into it, I can see fake customer and I have this little funny line there and fake job. And I can come in here and do the same things, create invoices, create credit memos, right? I can even have projects associated with that. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about projects. So how do we create projects, right? When you're on your customer list here, you can, I'm trying to just highlight on one, so I'll get to my fake customer. I have here, and I'm zoomed in a little bit, sorry, so you can't see the entire thing. I have here, I'm on my customer list, and I go, I can create transactions. That's not what I'm trying to do. I can come over here to my customers. I see customer lists. I'm not trying to get there. We do have projects down below here, right? So I'm going to open that up in a new tab. If I come up here to new, it says new things I can do with customers. I don't see projects there. So sometimes people struggle for the navigation for how to create a project. You come up in here to the gear and you see all lists, right? So people can't really navigate there because I'll show you that in a second. So how do we create a project? Right, so you can go to the projects tab, which is always fine, right? And you can create a new project from there. But the way that I like to navigate best is to do it from the customer. So I can click into Fake Customer, click on Projects, and add a project from there. Okay, so that helps me a little bit because it fills in. So it's a couple more clicks, but it fills in those fake customers. But it also lets me see, do I have other projects already set up for this customer, as well as do I have other sub-customers already set up for this customer? Because what you don't want to do is have a sub-customer set up and a project set up, but because they're kind of in the UI, in the user interface, on two different lists, you don't want there to be confusion. Okay, so now on the project side, I'm going to set up fake projects so that we have it. I can put in the start date of the project. I can put in the estimated end date of the project, right? Or maybe I don't put an end date until I actually finish. I have a project status, not started yet, and then I have notes. That's it. Okay. Everything else, all those other details, come from the customer. That's it for setup. Now, of course, with projects, you get a lot of other things because you get this nice, pretty view. Right, see estimate versus actual right there. Open invoices, you get this nice, pretty dashboard for it. So there is an opportunity where that would be helpful, right? When I click back to all projects, it shows me all projects, all of them. But when I go to my customer list and I look at my customers here, I don't see projects here. So I have fake customer, fake job. If I want to see the project, I have to click into, when it does that to me, so I'm going to look at all statuses, and here's my project now. Okay, so quickly what I want to do is I want to create an invoice at all levels so that we can see the difference. So at fake customer, I'm going to go ahead and create a new invoice. And it's at fake customer, and I'm just going to grab a hours and put in $2,500 and say save. Okay. Now notice all of the fields that filled in here, all the custom fields got pulled over to the customer list, or from the customer list onto this transaction. So that's my fake customer invoice, $2,500. Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to go to fake job, and I'm going to do a new invoice. Okay, so notice in the customer field here, it says fake customer : fake job. That tells it it is a sub customer. That colon tells it it's a sub customer. So if you ever see that when you're creating an invoice, right? If I click into it, look, I have fake customer, fake job, and fake project showing, and fake job and project kind of look like they're the same thing. But one says sub customer and one says project. Right? When I click on fake job and tab off, it's interesting. It takes off the fake customer part, so that's interesting. But let me get down here. Okay, so the whole point I want to show is the hours. Now I'm going to say that this one is $5,500 and save. And again, when it pulls in from fake job, I have different bits of information filled in because the custom fields pull from the job, not the customer, right? From the sub customer, not from the header customer. Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to go into the project. Projects. It went back to in progress. I'm looking at all statuses. I want to click into this project and add an invoice. So when I look at my customer here, it's the same net effect where it says fake customer : fake project. All right, and I come down, I put in my hours. And on this one, I'm going to put 1550 and say save. Now notice on the fake project, none of the fields are filled in on the custom field. The billing address, the terms, the shipping, that all pulled from the customer because we did not set those up at the project level. All right. So we set up invoices at all 3 levels. I thought I said it. Did I set up an invoice? I said save. Let's see. Yep, there it is. Okay. I don't know why it's not saying open invoices. So that's interesting. Oh, our poor demo files. Now what I want to do is I want to go down to some reports. Okay. So the first report that I'm going to pull up is sales by customer. And do the sales by customer summary report. So on this report, it's looking at revenue, right? What are the sales? It does it by customer. And you can see here, I have fake customer, 2,500. Remember, set that invoice. Fake job, which is our sub customer, 5,500. And we have fake project, 15,500 for a total under fake customer of 23. So by setting up as a project, essentially in the database, it sets it up the same way. It's on the customer list as a sub-customer, but it doesn't show up on the customer list when you just look at the customer list. It shows up on the projects list instead. But on reporting, the results are the same. Now, another report that I want you to take a look at, I'm running out of time. So let me just get to this one and then I'll look at questions here. Another report to look at is customer contact list. So if I look at the client contact list, right, so this is who I should be reaching out to. Notice on this one, I have fake customer, I have fake job, but I do not have project. Okay. The expectation, if you can, like, what were the developers thinking, right? That's what you want to try to get to. The expectation is that a project is under a customer, right? It is something under a customer, but it's going to have the same things as the customer, whereas a sub-customer could have different things, could have different custom fields, could have different sales reps, could have different territories. Okay. So that's how you'd want to know. Also, because we can go 5 levels deep in sub-customers, I can go fake job and it'd have another colon. It would say, right, like this one, test 2, another colon, test 3. So it's all the different levels deep that we have. You can't do that in project world. Okay. All right. Let me grab into questions real quick since we're running out of time. I will pull up on my screen here what we have coming up next so you guys can see. Next week, we're going to do customer deposits and we're going to talk about some web store clearing, all sales related activities. Let me see here. What do we have? Will you send this recording? Yeah. Oh, you know what, David? Thank you for calling that out. I don't mention this in the beginning, but we do have a YouTube channel. I should put this in the slides. We do have a YouTube channel. It's just Fourlane on YouTube. All of these videos every week go up on the YouTube channel. So you can go back and watch my fumfering around last week, trying to find that sub-account box. But you can see every week. We also have in there lots of different training series. So we've got some enterprise related ones, but the concepts, whether it's Enterprise, NetSuite, QuickBooks Online, Acumatica, the concepts are the same, right? Like when it is, it's all about structure. How can we trick the system to get to our end goal we're wanting? So even if it says it's for a different product, it's still worth checking out. So hopefully that answers that question. And then how do you turn on the MailChimp feature? So David, you have to become a customer of MailChimp. I believe that Fourlane has the option to help you get set up with an account, but maybe that could be one of our webinars one day, is how does MailChimp work with QBO? That would be a great one for us to do. Actually, I'll add it to the list right now. Okay, any other questions coming in today? No, that's it. All right, guys, getting you out on time. Please shoot me an email if you have anything that comes up or any ideas for trainings that you would like to have. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Thanks, guys.